Hello, welcome to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'm going to do some light renovation to this bonus area. Started off by adding some lighting, brighten up the place a little bit. I also filled in the floor where there were low spots, patched the walls and ceiling where they had to level out the space in front of the stairs. I also changed the shutoff valve there so it can be recessed behind the wall and be accessed with an access panel as seen here. Just continuing patching, sanding, and priming all the walls and ceiling. Now we're up to the point where I began the paint process. Painting all the walls. Here I'm cutting in on the ceiling, around the edges. I like to cut in the edges and start rolling soon after, before the paint dries. To me, it gives it a little more uniform look. Please like the video, and your subscription is greatly appreciated. I continued the paint process all the way around this room. Had a nice layer of primer on this wall, so 2 coats will suffice. Here I'm going to start this process of installing the floor, which is laminate. This laminate comes with padding underneath, but in addition, I like to do underlayment anyway as an extra layer of comfort and protection. And as you're progressing from one side of the room to the other, if you have a bunch of furniture or anything in there, my tools and equipment set to one side, and as I'm working my way there, I transition everything over, keeping it clean as I go. You don't want any debris or anything left underneath the flooring because it will show later. As I was taught, prevention is better than a cure. Plank moving, tapping them in. If I really have to get a tough piece in, I'll use a sacrificial piece to knock it in. Here we have Simba is back for early inspection. Here I'm using the speed square against the wall. Give me an extra solid surface to knock the tiles back in to make them come together nicely. Sometimes when I was knocking them in that direction, they would slide under the sheetrock. And I wanted to keep that gap underneath around the perimeter. That was a nice filler for me. As I get to each edge, no need for tape measure, just flip the board around, opposite direction, make a pencil mark, go to the saw, make a cut, bring it back for easy install. Eventually I'll invest into the laminate snapper. As soon as I said, I don't do laminate that much, so I was just using a saw or a utility knife. And right after that, I did laminate like 6 times in a row. So I guess it's time to invest in it. Just moving everything over. Closing out, finishing to the last side, sweeping up the last of the debris. Measuring how many rows I have left. If I have enough flooring, which I did. Get to the end of this row. I'm going to need to shift this very heavy TV over back to its original position. Maybe Simba will give me a hand, maybe not. He's out of here. I'm on my own, so TV's over. Last cleanup of the floor. Make sure there's nothing there. Install the last row of underlayment in a bit. And it'll be easier to remove that door to work around under the casing and the jamb. Time to get the last of the underlayment down. First, I'm going to remove this door, which will be replaced with the new door. Roll it out. Get it into position. First roll out the length, and then I'll roll out the side cuts. Trim it to fit. Just continue cutting along the edges. Cut it long to extend into the doorway. We can cut it after the flooring is finished. Revealing the sticky portion of the strip there, making sure it's a couple inches over the previous layer of underlayment. Continue the flooring till we get all the way to the edge. And we're getting down to the last rows of laminate. I could have left a full plank to the edge, but I chose to do a slim piece along the long edge of the wall just to give the base molding a little extra footing to sit on. Still left a little gap for expansion. I believe it covered it anyway. Just get this last tricky piece in. Putting well, first I had to come to cut it with the oscillating tool to get under the door casing and jam. Afterwards, you'll see me knocking in the last piece to slide under there and then meeting everything up next to it. We'll get a close-up of that in a bit. Here's a close-up of that door jamb. Nice and clean underneath, and that thin strip I put between the wall and the last row. It's a nice shot of the finished floor. Here's a montage of the process of which I use for the stairs, which I didn't catch on video. See the unlevelness of the first stair riser to the floor, which which had to be corrected. I used the flooring as the risers, some masonry stone as the treads. So it is as it installed. Here I have installed the base molding, painted the new door, installed it, and here's the finished space. Nice refreshed look. Thank you for watching.